Welcome to our channel. Today you will listen to a touching story about family, love, and hope. I am an old man now. My hair is white and my hands feel weak. Every day, I sit by the window and watch the trees outside. The wind moves the leaves softly, and I remember my past. Memories come to me like waves. Some make me smile, and some make me cry. I had a wife named Sarah. She was kind and beautiful, with a warm smile that made every day better. We had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. I worked hard every day to give them a good life. I wanted them to have what I never had. Sarah took care of the house, cooked for us, and helped the children with their schoolwork. Our home was full of love and laughter. Years went by, and the children grew up. They went to school, made friends, and spent less time with us. I knew they needed to see the world, but it still made me feel sad. Sarah would always say, "They will come back because they love us." And I believed her. Then one day, Sarah got sick. She stayed in bed for weeks. I took care of her, cooked for her, and sat by her side. I told her stories to make her smile, but she was too weak. She looked at me and said, "Take care of the children. They need you." One night, she closed her eyes and did not open them again. My heart broke. The house felt so quiet and empty after that. I hoped the children would stay and fill the silence, but they were busy with their own lives. They visited less and less. One day, they sat with me and said, "You cannot stay alone. It is better if you live in a home for old people." I wanted to say no, but I saw no other choice. My heart hurt, but I nodded and went with them. Now I sit here alone. The days feel long, and the nights are cold. I think about Sarah and our life together. I ask myself, did I fail as a father? Did I do something wrong? But there are no answers, only silence. This place is called Golden Years Home. It is clean and quiet. There are other old people here, sitting in their chairs, lost in their thoughts. Some talk to me, but most of the time, I am alone. The nurses are kind, but they are busy. They bring me food, give me medicine, and sometimes smile at me. Every morning, I wake up early and watch the sun rise through the window. The light colors the sky, and for a short time, I feel calm. Then the day starts, and I feel empty again. I think about my children. Where are they? Are they happy? Do they think of me? I remember when I carried them on my shoulders. We went to the park, played games, and laughed. I worked long hours to buy them clothes and toys. I taught them to ride bikes and helped them with their homework. My hands were tired, but my heart was full. They were my pride and joy. But now, they are far away. They call me sometimes, but their voices sound busy. "How are you, Dad?" they ask, then quickly say, "We are busy. Take care." I understand their lives are full, but I still wish they would visit more. One day, a nurse gave me a notebook. She said, "Write your memories. It will help you feel better." At first, I did not know what to write. My hands shook as I held the pen. Then the words began to come. I wrote about Sarah, about her gentle voice and her laughter. I wrote about my children, their first steps, their first words, their happy smiles. The notebook became like a friend. Every night, I wrote before sleeping. It felt like talking to someone, sharing my love and my pain. I hoped one day my children would read it and understand how much I love them. But sometimes I wonder if they will ever read it. Maybe they are too busy. Maybe they will forget me, just like they forgot to visit. These thoughts make my heart heavy, but I keep writing. It is the only thing I can do. The days here feel the same, Breakfast at 8 o'clock, lunch at 12 o'clock, dinner at 6 o'clock. Between meals, I sit by the window or in the small garden. The garden has flowers, roses, daisies, tulips. Sometimes I watch the birds flying and singing, and I wonder if they feel happy or lonely like me. One afternoon, a young boy came to visit. He was the son of one of the nurses. He smiled and said, "Hi, Grandpa." His smile reminded me of my youngest son when he was small. The boy sat with me and asked, "Do you have any stories?" I nodded and began telling him about my childhood. I spoke of the village where I grew up, with green fields, tall trees, and a clear river where we used to swim. I told him about my best friend, John, and how we climbed trees and played hide and seek. The boy listened with wide eyes full of wonder. For a moment, I felt alive again, sharing my stories with someone who cared. After he left, I felt a mix of feelings. I was happy to talk to him, but it also made me think of my own family. I wondered if my grandchildren knew about me, if they knew how much I missed them, how much I wanted to hold them and tell them stories too. One evening, I asked the nurse if I could call my oldest son. She gave me the phone, and with shaking hands, I dialed his number. He answered after a few rings, saying, "Hello, Dad," in a distant voice. I told him I missed him and wanted to see him. He replied, "I'll try to visit soon," but it sounded like a promise he didn't really mean. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thinking of Sarah. She would have known what to do, how to keep the family close and the house full of love. Without her, everything had fallen apart. I missed her more than I could ever say. I held my notebook to my chest and whispered, "Sarah, if you can hear me, please tell our children to come. Tell them I'm still here, waiting." My voice cracked, and tears rolled down my face. The pain in my heart was too heavy, but I still hoped that maybe one day they would remember me. Days turned into weeks as I waited by the window every afternoon, hoping to see one of my children's cars arrive. Every time I heard a car engine, my heart jumped, but it was always someone else, a visitor for another resident, or a delivery van. My hope grew smaller, but it never fully went away. One day, I decided to write letters to my children. I found an old notebook and a pen in my bedside drawer. My hands shook as I began. The first letter was for my oldest son. I wrote about my life here, the quiet days, and the memories that kept me company. I reminded him of holding his hand when he was small, teaching him to walk and ride a bike. The second letter was for my daughter. I wrote about her smile, the way she used to sing while helping her mother in the kitchen. I told her how proud I was when she graduated from college. And I wrote, "You are my sunshine," like I used to call her when she was a child. The last letter was for my youngest son. I reminded him of our fishing trips and how he laughed when he caught his first fish. I told him how I missed his jokes and the laughter that used to fill the house. When I finished writing, I carefully folded the letters and put them in envelopes. I asked the nurse to mail them for me, and she kindly said, "Of course, Mr. Carter. I'll send them today." For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. The next morning, I went to the garden. The air was fresh, and the flowers moved gently in the breeze. I sat on a bench and closed my eyes, imagining my children reading the letters, maybe feeling touched by my words, deciding to come and visit. But days passed with no reply. No calls, no letters, no visits. My heart ached, but I told myself to be patient. They're busy, I thought. Maybe the letters will remind them. I held on to this hope like a rope, trying not to lose it. That evening, while I was sitting by the window, the young boy who had visited before came back. He brought me a small drawing of me sitting under a tree with a big smile. "This is for you," he said, handing it to me. My eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice breaking. The boy's kindness warmed my heart. Even though my own children were far away, this little boy gave me a reason to smile, even if just for a while. One morning, as I sat by the window, the nurse came in with a letter. "Mr. Carter," she said with a smile, "you have mail." My heart beat fast as she handed me the envelope. The handwriting looked familiar. It was from my oldest son. My hands shook as I opened it and read each word. He apologized for not visiting, explaining how busy his job was and how he often thought of me, but couldn't find the time. He promised to visit soon and to bring his children, my grandchildren, whom I hadn't seen in years. Tears came to my eyes, a mix of relief and longing. For the first time in months, I felt a bit of happiness. I read the letter again and again, remembering every word. I showed it to the nurse, and she smiled and said, "See, they do care, Mr. Carter." Her words gave me hope, but deep inside, I wondered if he would really come. A week passed, then another. Each day, I looked out the window, hoping to see his car. The other residents noticed my excitement and asked about it. "My son is coming," I told them proudly, and their kind words encouraged me. But as more days passed, doubt started to grow again. One afternoon, I wrote another letter, this time to my daughter. I told her about her brother's letter and how much it lifted my heart. I reminded her of our talks and how I missed hearing about her dreams. I wrote, "I miss our conversations," hoping she would read it and remember. I gave it to the nurse to send and waited again. The waiting was hard, but my son's letter helped me keep going. I spent time in the garden, talking with the young boy who often visited. He told me about school, his favorite games, and how he wanted to be an artist. One day, he brought me another drawing, a family standing under a tree. "This is your family," he said, pointing to the people he drew. His innocent kindness brought tears to my eyes. I thanked him and put the drawing next to my son's letter. The days were still lonely, but the boy's kindness and the hope of seeing my son again gave me something to hold on to. I thought about my wife and how she would have told me to stay strong. "They will come," I whispered to myself every night before falling asleep. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, I thought about my life, my family, and all the love I had given them. Maybe one day they would understand, I hoped. With that thought, I closed my eyes, holding on to the chance that tomorrow might be different. One bright morning, I woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. It did not sound like the nurses or staff. My heart started to beat faster. I sat up in bed and listened closely. Could it be him? Could it be my son? The door opened slowly, and there he was, my oldest son, standing tall but looking unsure. Behind him were two small children holding his hands. My eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I could not speak. He came closer, his face showing both guilt and warmth. "Dad," he said softly, "I'm here." I opened my arms, and he leaned down to hug me. It was the first time in years I had felt his hug. His children, my grandchildren, smiled shyly at me. "These are Emma and Liam," he said, introducing them. "They were excited to meet you." I looked at them and smiled. "Hello, Emma." "Hello, Liam," I said. They giggled and gave me drawings they had made. One showed a house with a garden, and the other was of an old man smiling. "This is you, Grandpa," Liam said proudly. The room felt alive with their presence. My son sat next to me, and we talked for hours. He told me about his work, his family, and how much he missed the old days. I listened to every word, holding on to each moment. I told him about the home, the kind nurses, and the young boy who often visited me. Before they left, my son promised to come again soon. "This time, I mean it, Dad," he said firmly. His words gave me hope. I watched them walk out of the room, feeling both happy and a little sad. The visit was short, but it meant everything to me. A few days later, my daughter came to see me. She had read my letter and decided to visit. She hugged me tightly, and we spent hours talking about her life, her challenges, and her dreams. She said sorry for staying away for so long and promised to visit more often. For the first time in many years, I felt surrounded by love. My children were finally starting to understand. They saw me not as a burden, but as a father who had given them all he could. Their visits became more regular, and the emptiness in my heart began to fade. The young boy at the home kept visiting me, too, bringing his happy stories and drawings. One day he told me, "You look happier now, Mr. Carter." I smiled and nodded. "Yes, I am," I replied. As the days turned into months, I realized that life was not only about giving, but about sharing moments with the people you love. My heart, once full of loneliness, was now filled with gratitude. I still missed my wife deeply, but I knew she would be proud. Her love had taught me to keep going, even in hard times. Now, as I sat in the garden with my children and grandchildren by my side, I felt peace in my heart. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a like, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Thanks for watching.